Hey there, welcome to Heart Smart Living. I'm Alex, and 3 years ago, I sat in my doctor's office completely blindsided. Your LDL cholesterol is 189, she said, sliding a paper across her desk. That puts you at high risk for heart disease. At 42, with 2 young kids at home, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Meh. Heart problems. I wasn't even overweight. The worst part. She was already reaching for her prescription pad to start me on statins. That's when I asked for 3 months to try to fix this myself. She looked skeptical but agreed. What happened next changed everything. I dropped my cholesterol by 50 points without medication. Today, I'm sharing exactly how I did it. Let's be real, hearing you have high cholesterol is scary. For me, it was especially terrifying because my dad had his first heart attack at 50. I always thought I had time to figure things out later. Suddenly, later was now. When I got home from that appointment, I remember looking at my kids playing in the living room and thinking, I need to be here for them. That night, I stayed up until 2 a.m. researching everything I could about cholesterol. Here's what surprised me. Medication isn't always the only answer. While statins work for many people, and they're absolutely necessary in some cases, making targeted changes to your diet can have a profound impact. And I'm not talking about some extreme diet that nobody can maintain. I'm talking about strategic swaps that actually fit into real life. My doctor gave me 3 months. I gave myself a mission. Before I jump into what worked, let's quickly cover what I learned about cholesterol. I promise to keep this simple, because understanding the basics helped me make better choices. Cholesterol isn't all bad. Your body actually needs it to build cells. There are 2 main types you've probably heard about, LDL and HDL. What I didn't realize was how much our food choices affect these numbers. It's not just about avoiding fatty foods, that's outdated thinking. Some high-fat foods can actually improve your cholesterol profile, while many low-fat processed foods can make it worse. The real culprits: trans fats, excessive saturated fats, refined carbs, and sugar. These were exactly the things hiding throughout my supposedly healthy diet. Let me paint a picture of my before diet. I wasn't eating fast food daily or anything obvious. In fact, I thought I was doing pretty well. Breakfast was usually a bowl of cereal with low-fat milk, or a bagel with cream cheese if I was on the go. Lunch was often a sandwich from the deli near my office, turkey on white with mayo, chips on the side. Dinner was where I thought I was being healthiest, chicken breast, pasta, or tacos. Snacks were typically granola bars, pretzels, or yogurt with fruit on the bottom. Sound familiar? I was eating what I thought was a normal, reasonably healthy diet. But when I really analyzed it, I realized it was full of refined carbs, hidden sugars, and not nearly enough of the foods that actively improve cholesterol levels. My first step was tracking everything I ate for a week, without changing anything. This baseline was eye-opening. I wasn't making terrible choices, but I wasn't making great ones either. My first major change targeted breakfast, which turned out to be a sugar and refined carb festival. That cereal I thought was healthy. 12 grams of sugar per serving. That bagel. Basically a white flour bomb that spiked my blood sugar and left me hungry an hour later. The swap, I replaced cereal and bagels with oatmeal topped with berries and walnuts. Not instant oatmeal packets, those are often loaded with sugar, but plain steel-cut or rolled oats. Here's why this works. Oats contain a special type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan that actively helps lower cholesterol. Studies show consuming just 3 grams of beta-glucan daily can lower LDL cholesterol by 5–10%. The walnuts add plant sterols and omega-3 fatty acids that further improve cholesterol levels, and the berries provide antioxidants without much sugar. On busier mornings, I'd make overnight oats or a smoothie with ground flaxseed, berries, and unsweetened plant milk. The key was eliminating the refined carbs and sugar, while adding foods that actively fight high cholesterol. After just 2 weeks of this breakfast swap, I noticed something interesting. I wasn't getting that mid-morning energy crash anymore. And I was actually staying full until lunch. Lunchtime was my next target. Those deli sandwiches seemed innocent enough, but the white bread, processed meats, and mayo were doing me no favors. The swap, I switched to grain bowls built around beans, lentils, or chickpeas, with lots of vegetables and a tahini or avocado dressing. Why this works? Beans and lentils are cholesterol-lowering powerhouses. They're packed with soluble fiber that binds to cholesterol in your digestive system and helps remove it from your body. One study found that eating just half a cup of beans daily lowered LDL cholesterol by an average of 8%. I know what you're thinking, bean bowls sound boring. But they don't have to be. I experimented with different flavor profiles, Mediterranean style with chickpeas, cucumbers, tomatoes, and tahini, Mexican-inspired with black beans, salsa, and avocado, or Asian-influenced with edamame, ginger, and a splash of sesame oil. The key was preparation. I'd make a big batch of beans or lentils on Sunday, chop vegetables for the week, and keep them in containers ready to go. This actually saved me money compared to buying lunch out, and it took less time than waiting in line at the deli. For days when I knew I'd need to eat out, I researched options near my office that offered bean-based dishes or salads with olive oil dressing instead of creamy options. One of the biggest misconceptions I had was about dietary fat. I'd grown up in the fat-free era of the 90s and still thought all fats were bad. Learning the truth about fats was a game changer for my cholesterol. The swap, I replaced butter, mayo, and refined vegetable oils with olive oil, avocados, and small amounts of nut butters. Why this works? Not all fats are created equal. Monounsaturated fats and certain polyunsaturated fats can actually improve your cholesterol profile by raising HDL cholesterol and lowering LDL cholesterol. I started using olive oil for cooking and making simple dressings. I spread avocado on toast instead of butter. I added a small handful of almonds or walnuts as a snack instead of pretzels or chips. The most surprising part: fat helped me feel satisfied. Those low-fat yogurts and snacks I'd been eating before left me hungry, which led to more snacking. Adding healthy fats to my meals helped me feel full longer and actually reduced my overall calorie intake. This was the moment I realized that everything I thought I knew about healthy eating had been shaped by food marketing rather than actual nutrition science. If there's one nutrient that became my secret weapon against high cholesterol, it was fiber, specifically soluble fiber. Most Americans get only about 15 grams of total fiber daily, well below the recommended 25–30 grams. And soluble fiber is the type that specifically helps with cholesterol. The swap, I made it a mission to include high-fiber foods at every meal, aiming for at least 30 grams daily, with an emphasis on soluble fiber sources. Why this works? Soluble fiber forms a gel-like substance in your digestive system that binds to cholesterol and prevents its absorption. Research shows that for every gram of soluble fiber you add to your daily diet, your LDL cholesterol drops by about 1-2 points. Foods highest in soluble fiber include beans, oats, barley, fruits like apples and pears, vegetables like Brussels sprouts and broccoli, and flax seeds. I started adding ground flaxseed to my morning oatmeal, snacking on apples with almond butter, and including at least 1 serving of beans or lentils daily. One trick I discovered: when preparing canned beans, I never drained or rinsed them. That liquid contains soluble fiber. Instead, I incorporated it into soups and stews for an extra fiber boost. Another game changer was switching from fruit juice to whole fruits. That orange juice I thought was healthy contained the sugar from several oranges, but none of the fiber that helps buffer the sugar's impact. During my research, I came across something called plant sterols, compounds found naturally in plants that have a structure similar to cholesterol. These compounds can actually block cholesterol absorption in your digestive system. The swap, I incorporated foods naturally high in plant sterols and added a few fortified foods to my routine. Why this works: plant sterols compete with cholesterol for absorption in your digestive system. Studies show consuming 2-3 grams of plant sterols daily can lower LDL cholesterol by 5–15%, similar to the effect of low-dose statins for some people. Foods naturally containing plant sterols include nuts, seeds, whole grains, and vegetables. But to reach therapeutic amounts, I also included some fortified foods. I switched to a plant sterol-enriched margarine and occasionally had plant sterol-fortified orange juice or yogurt. I also discovered that certain foods like mushrooms and ground flax seeds are particularly rich in plant sterols, so I made sure to include these regularly. Another area ripe for improvement was my protein sources. I was relying heavily on animal proteins: chicken, turkey, beef, and cheese, all of which contain saturated fat and cholesterol. The swap, I didn't go vegetarian, but I did shift to a plant-forward approach, making about 70% of my protein come from plant sources. Why this works: plant proteins like beans, lentils, tofu, tempeh, and even whole grains and nuts come packaged with fiber, antioxidants, and zero cholesterol. Research shows replacing just some animal protein with plant protein can lower LDL cholesterol by 3–5%. For example, instead of my usual tacos with ground beef, I started making them with a mixture of black beans and chopped walnuts seasoned with taco spices, a combination that mimics the texture of ground beef surprisingly well. I learned to make a mean chickpea curry that my kids actually requested. And I discovered that marinated tempeh on the grill is delicious. I still ate meat, but I treated it more as a garnish than the center of my plate. When I did choose animal proteins, I opted for fatty fish like salmon, which provides heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. This shift not only helped my cholesterol, but also increased the variety in my diet. I was eating a much wider range of foods than before, which improved my overall nutrient intake. Now, I want to be clear about something important. This journey wasn't about deprivation or creating a diet so strict I couldn't maintain it. I didn't completely eliminate any food groups or create rigid rules I'd eventually break. I still ate cheese occasionally, just smaller amounts of more flavorful varieties. I still had eggs, focusing on the whites more than the yolks. I even had ice cream sometimes, just as a true treat, rather than a nightly habit. The key was changing my everyday patterns while allowing flexibility for special occasions. I followed what I call the 90-10 approach, making cholesterol-friendly choices 90% of the time, which gave me room to enjoy less optimal foods 10% of the time without derailing my progress. This balance was crucial for sustainability. Any diet that feels like punishment is doomed to fail. By focusing on addition rather than subtraction, adding more beneficial foods rather than just eliminating things, I created a way of eating I could actually maintain. While my focus was on cholesterol, I noticed several unexpected benefits from these dietary changes. 1. My energy levels stabilized. No more afternoon crashes that sent me searching for coffee or snacks. 2. My digestion improved dramatically. All that fiber did wonders for my gut health. 3. I lost 11 pounds without specifically trying to. By focusing on nutrient-dense foods that kept me satisfied, I naturally ate fewer calories. 4. My skin cleared up and looked more vibrant, likely from all the extra antioxidants and omega-3s. 5. My cooking skills improved. I had to get creative in the kitchen, which led to discovering new recipes my whole family enjoyed. Perhaps most importantly, I developed a healthier relationship with food. Rather than seeing certain foods as forbidden or feeling guilty about eating them, I began to see all foods on a spectrum. Some support heart health more than others, but no single food is the enemy. After 3 months of these changes, I returned to my doctor for follow-up blood work. I was nervous. I'd put in all this effort, but would it be enough? When she called with my results, I held my breath. My LDL cholesterol had dropped from 189 to 139, a 50-point reduction that moved me from the high category to just slightly above optimal. My HDL cholesterol had increased by 8 points. My triglycerides had dropped by 65 points. My doctor was genuinely surprised. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it," she said. These are the kind of results we usually only see with medication. That moment was incredibly validating. All those bean bowls and oatmeal breakfasts had paid off. The changes I'd made weren't just affecting numbers on a lab report. They were literally cleaning out my arteries and giving me a better chance at a long, healthy life with my family. To be clear, I'm not anti-medication. If my cholesterol hadn't improved, I would have taken the statins. Heart disease isn't something to mess around with. But I'm grateful I found a dietary approach that worked for my body. It's been 3 years since that initial diagnosis, and I'm happy to report my cholesterol has remained in the healthy range. I've continued with the same basic approach, though I've relaxed a bit on the strictness now that my numbers are good. The changes that once seemed so difficult have become second nature. I no longer crave the sugary breakfasts or heavy lunches I used to eat. My palate has adjusted to appreciate the natural flavors of whole foods. That said, I'm not perfect. There are weeks when work gets crazy and meal prep doesn't happen. There are vacations where I enjoy whatever foods are part of the experience. The difference is that these are now exceptions rather than the rule, and I always return to my heart-healthy patterns. If you're facing high cholesterol right now, I want you to know that you have more power than you might think. The food choices you make every day can significantly impact your cholesterol levels and overall heart health. Start with one meal, maybe breakfast, like I did, and build from there. Focus on adding beneficial foods rather than just eliminating things. Look for simple swaps that fit your lifestyle and preferences. Remember that sustainable changes happen gradually. It took me about 3 weeks to adjust to my new breakfast routine before it felt normal. Give yourself time to adapt and don't expect perfection. Also, work with your doctor. While diet changes worked for me, everyone's body is different. Some people may need medication in addition to lifestyle changes, and that's perfectly okay. I'd love to hear about your experiences with cholesterol management. Have you tried any of these approaches? Do you have questions about specific foods or strategies? Drop a comment below, and I'll do my best to respond. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to Heart Smart Living for more content on natural approaches to heart health. I share heart-healthy recipes every Monday and nutrition tips throughout the week. Next week, I'll be showing you my top 5 cholesterol-lowering recipes that take less than 20 minutes to prepare, perfect for busy weeknights. Until then, remember that every meal is an opportunity to show your heart some love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.